Welcome to the Young America Podcast.
Now, what happened after that? Like, did it just stay there, or what?
So, basically, the disciples were obviously the ones that were, I guess, the main characters in this. I don't know what you would call them. What's the word I'm looking for?
They're like the evangelists.
Kind of. The leaders, I guess. Anyways, they're the dudes that are taking control and, showing people that the people that are the person that they crucified, Jesus Christ, was the Christ. He was the Messiah. And he was showing them that they had killed him. And, people were starting to realize, oh, hey, we messed up, And so they were spreading the word. And so the Pharisees were getting anxious or getting, little worried there. And so they would, that's the word. So they would take the disciples and they're like, hey, don't be teaching this stuff about Jesus, or we're going to have to,
beat them and stuff.
And so the disciples were like, dude, okay, first of all, we're not going to listen to you. Respectfully, we're not going to listen to you because, well, Jesus is the higher power here, And so they're like, which one's better to, what's the verse? They said it somewhere. They had got done speaking to someone, and then the Pharisees were like, hey, come with us. And so they took him to a council or whatever. And you're like, hey, don't preach this. And so I think it was Peter that said, is it better to listen to man or God? And he, basically, it's like, hey, we're not going to listen to you because God is the ultimate authority. And then they beat the Pharisees beat the disciples. And then right after that, the disciples went out rejoicing. They're like, hey, this is awesome. We're worthy to be beaten, which is interesting. You wouldn't think that's a good thing, but it is. If you're doing it for the right reasons, if you're doing it for Christ, it is. Right. It is a worthy cause.
God told them that would be the way that it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
As well, that they would suffer for the cause of Christ.
Right. And then I think right after that, they went to the temple and they preached the same thing again. They're like, we ain't stopping. But the thing was, they were only staying in Jerusalem. And so I think God used the persecution of the disciples and all of these people to disperse them. I think a person he used was Paul.
I think,
to get these disciples and these people.
I think it started
dispersed.
When they dispersed from Jerusalem is when they killed James.
Was it James?
Because Herod beheaded James and
Yeah,
I'm trying to see. I think it's chapter 5. Maybe not. I don't know. But anyways, Herod got tired of it and killed James because he was the head of the church of Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the idea was to cut the head off the snake, but it just made it worse for them. Because then the religion spread from Jerusalem to the rest of the world.
Yeah. So that's how this church started. I guess it started on the day of Pentecost. And it grew pretty rapidly after that. And the first day was 3,000 souls. I'm like, that's impressive. But
I know. Imagine if we saw that.
That would be something. So you got Peter and you got Paul. So Peter was the one that was going around to the Jews more so. And then you had Paul, who would kind of go around to the Gentiles, which is interesting because God had a plan for these guys, and he used these guys. I mean, and if you look at these guys that were used, especially Peter and the other disciples, not so much as Paul, but you look at these guys, and they're a bunch of nobodies. They're a bunch of farmers, or not farmers. They're a bunch of fishermen that don't know squat, basically. And even on the day of Pentecost, you can, the people say, like, are these people drunk, or what's happening here? Because they're not that smart, basically, is what the extent of what they're saying was. But anyways,
yeah,
like, they weren't anyone special. They were just normal people that did daily jobs, and, God used them. He said, hey, follow me. And that's exactly what they did. They followed him. And in the end, God used them. You could see their whole life, God used them. The same should be true of us. We don't have to be some high political person to make a difference. We don't have to. These guys were fishermen. They just looked at the ocean all day. So, you don't have to be
God
anyone
can use
special.
anybody, in other words.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah, Peter was more the Jews, and then you have their ministries, which are amazing if you look at them. Paul wrote almost all the New Testament. So basically, we get to the end of their lives, and Peter is crucified upside down because he says he's not worthy to be killed like Christ was, which I think is, something that's pretty cool. And then we believe Paul was beheaded by Nero. But
it was around the same time, I think.
Yeah, I think they might have been similar. And then you got all the apostles here. Let's see. I think we got Andrew was crucified. Thomas was speared by the soldiers. Philip was put to death. Matthew was stabbed to death. Bartholomew was martyred. James was stoned. Simon the Zealot was martyred. Matthias was burned. And John died naturally. He was the only one that died naturally. After being boiled alive, obviously. But, which is, they all...
I didn't know that.
Was that John? Yeah, that was John, right? He got boiled, and then he got put in the Isle of... No, that was the other... that was John. Boiled him, yeah, that was John. Yeah, and then they put him on the Isle of Patmos.
Yeah, they boiled John, and then they sent him to the...
Yeah.
Where there's nothing.
Basically.
Except for a rock mine.
Yeah.
So.
And then...
they worked him to death, basically.
Yeah. But, yeah. And then, anyways, so we get to... I guess when the apostles are dead, we kind of get to, in history anyways, the rise of the Roman Empire, and how...
Well, they're already there.
Well, yeah.
The persecution.
Yeah. Which introduces, okay, so in the history timeline, we get to, I guess, the Coliseum, which that in itself is exciting. So basically, the Coliseum was a entertainment... Oh, so before we get to this is interesting. The Roman government basically would host these, I guess they were called games, but they were held in the Colosseum. They would host them for free. There was free food, free drinks, whatever. It was all free. So they were doing that, but they were, meantime, while they, were playing games or whatever, the government would be scheming and, doing whatever they do. So they would keep the people busy with all these games and stuff, and then they would be scheming in the background, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And so that's how, government works basically all the time. But we're not going to talk about that.
Kind of the birth of the Coliseum, I guess.
Yeah. So anyways, there were, many emperors that were, that had tortured a lot of Christians for, their beliefs and stuff. Who was the one that had Christians as I was thinking what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that. I don't remember.
You talk about Nero, who after he burned down Rome, Nero? He used the Christians and blamed them, and then used them as torches in his garden. Yeah, that was Nero.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess that was Nero.
Nero's a messed up dude.
He really was.
Needless to say.
But I think it's kind of obvious. But who's to say? And then, so yeah, the Colosseum, which was actually interesting. It was a neat design because underneath was you could move the boards, and underneath you could have a pool, and it would be like kind of like a maze thingy, which is interesting.
And have sea
battles. You could cover it up. Yeah, and you could cover it up again, and then put sand or whatever you want. And then there was obviously you'd have people that would fight each other, which were called gladiators, and then you would have the people that would fight animals and stuff like that. And then there was one point in time when all the animals that they let out were so sick of eating humans that they just went and laid down over in the. I'm like, what in the world? So they were like, I'm just so sick of eating people that they quit
Decius.
Attacking.
Or no, that's where is it? Yeah, it's Diocletian Maximin or something like that. He was the last of the Roman persecutor emperors or whatever. He destroyed biblical manuscripts, drowned people, and then threw so many of them to the beasts weren't hungry anymore, so they had to go get new ones.
Yeah, it's exciting. And then, Nero burnt Rome or whatever. And then, I guess, where did we leave off after that? The Catholics? I guess we're going to get into the history of the Catholics.
That's when we get into, was it Charlemagne? Yeah, and Constantine.
Yeah.
Not Charlemagne.
Constantine,
yeah.
Yeah.
Wrong guy. I'm going to say, I just read about all this the other day. I read like 3 chapters out of my sister's history book.
Well, look at you. Yeah, so basically, Constantine was the dude that was supposedly in the middle of a battle, and he looked up to the sky, and he saw a cross, and he vowed from that day forward he'd be a Christian, and yeah, that dude's special as well. He introduced, a lot of things. He was basically, a Nero, but a little different, you know what I'm saying?
It's a weird way of putting it. The Christian version, sort of.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, what he did was he made the Christian church the official religion of Rome. And then, as it developed, people were forced to go to a Christian church, and so it was paganized. And it became a church-state fused together. And that, obviously, is not a good thing. I mean, and so it's it was basically a power grab, eventually. I mean, I don't know if he thought of it that way, but that's what it developed into, as a power grab.
Well, yeah. Well, even if you look at
because if you can control what people think,
then if you look at the Catholic Church and the Empire or Emperor, that's what I'm trying to say. The Emperor and the Catholic Church were buddies. They were, real close because they would get power off of each other. Yeah. If the Pope or whatever would help out the Emperor would help out the Pope, basically. It's kind of like pat your back, I'll pat your back. So
yeah, you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Yeah. And then, obviously with the Catholic Church, they believe a lot of different things, especially like the 7 sacraments, which are baptism, the Eucharist, confirmation, reconciliation, confession, anointing of the sick, marriage, and ordination. So, yeah, it's a lot of weird stuff in there, but you can all look it up and it'll be exciting. Basically, well, it's kind of self-explanatory. And then
works.
Yeah. And then you have the Protestants, which would be Martin Luther, which started the Reformation in 1517, and then which he didn't actually mean to start, the Reformation, but it happened. So it's like, all right, sure.
Yeah.
He just wanted to reform.
That's what happens when you say the truth and don't worry about the consequences.
Yeah, which, makes sense. But he just wanted to reform the way things were actually being done. And nobody liked it. So they're like, hey, we're going to kill you, or, you can kill yourself.
Then you get the Lutherans poison. And the Protestant Reformation.
Yeah. Which the Protestant Reformation was good because it did open people's eyes to, like, hey, this is actually, a bad thing that's happening here. Because all of the services that were, that the Catholics were holding were in, like, Greek or something. Or was it Greek? I think it was Greek.
They're in Latin.
Yeah. What am I saying? Greek. Latin. So no one really understood Latin, so it's a dead language. So no one understood what the Pope was saying, and the Bible was always chained to the pulpit, and so no one could read the Bible. And so Martin Luther had the opportunity to read the Bible because
a lot of the priests never even read it. They wrote so much other stuff. They just kind of hid that in the corner.
Yeah,
which is crazy.
And but Martin Luther read the Bible, and then he figured it out. He's like, hey, he got saved, and then he's like, hey, here's like 90, was it 97, 99? 99. I think it was.
99.
Theses. Yeah. He poked it up on the door. And he actually wrote that in, was it Latin? I think it was in Latin. Because that way only the church, or the head of the church people could read it. That way the peasants, I guess if you want to call them, didn't actually know what he's saying. But then the Catholic Church translated that, and then people figured it out. Like, oh. So, anyways, bunch of random stuff.
Yeah.
And then you got John Huss, and then you got a bunch of other people, which start, different religions. You got the Anabaptists, and then, get a bunch of different religions. And then you get, I guess, the printing press. Gutenberg. Is that the guy? Yeah, Gutenberg.
Well, see, that was instrumental in getting Bibles to people.
Exactly, yeah. And then, so that started. And if you look at it, you see
if you can read
God,
it for yourself, then you have the power to know.
Right. Well, if you see it, God is obviously working his way. It's like, he's getting done what needs to be done.
Hey, real quick, we just wanted to make a correction because in the episode we talked about Martin Luther and his 99 theses. Well, guess what? It's actually 95 theses. So we just wanted to make you aware and make sure we get all our facts straight. Anyways, we'll get back to the show right now. Hey, so obviously, if you made it through this past part, congratulations.
You've achieved greatness.
Yes.
And you've suffered pain because you had to listen to us. But hey, we're glad you made it this far. Stick with us because we're almost done.
We're thankful for you. What can we say? It's getting better,
though.
So
very thankful.
It's getting better, though.
Oh, for sure.
At least we're not like the popes or anything. So there you go. But we just wanted to let you know, first of all, of course, that we're thankful for all those who listened. I think as of the time of this recording, we have 47 downloads on our last episode, so that's pretty awesome. We have them from several different countries, thanks to Fountain. We have Nepal and Spain and India. So that's pretty awesome, actually, on this last episode. So thank you if you're still listening from those areas.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome. We're thankful for you. Keep coming back? No. Anyways, speaking of Fountain, though, Fountain is just an awesome platform. It's good to help other people find us because you can create clips of our podcast and put that on the platform, and it will show in other people's feeds, and then they can check us out that way. And that's also a way to help us monetize a little bit and kind of be able to pay for subscriptions and things that we need for the podcast. So if you want to check us out on Fountain, it's totally free. You don't have to pay anything. But check it out. It's pretty awesome. Pretty simple to use. And it's a good way to find other podcasts too. So I'll mention that. But Joe, what are we doing with Wisdom? How's that going?
Yeah, so Wisdom, it's pretty neat. It's obviously a platform, social media, but basically people can ask you questions, and you can record and then respond to the question that they ask. So it's pretty neat. I'm getting a few of those, and I've been answering, a few of them. They've not necessarily related to the podcast, but you can hop on there and then ask questions about the podcast or whatever. And so yeah, we can communicate that way. So yeah, that's Wisdom for you.
And if you don't like recording an audio message, you can always email us. Whew, English is hard, guys. You can email us at youngamericapodcast@gmail.com. And you'll probably get a pretty quick response from that. And we'd be more than happy to talk to you, answer any questions you have. Super thankful for all you guys. I said that a lot already, but hey, we are.
Yeah.
Because
it's true.
If we didn't have any downloads, it'd be hard to keep
We're
going.
also on Rumble as well. So
true.
Check us out on there. That's the one that I guess gives us the most as far as monetization. So please check us out there.
I'll put a link in the description.
Another quick thing though is, so we're going to be doing this little thingamabob where you can donate to us if you want to, because obviously this stuff isn't free. Well, I mean, it is for you guys, but it's not free for us. So if you want to help out, please go ahead, and we will not, reject it. So we love doing what we're doing,
it's just
but
a little button.
At the same time, it does cost a little bit. So please think of us. Also pray for us as well, that we would have wisdom, in the things that we're saying, and that God would actually use this for his glory. And that is the purpose for this podcast, is for God's glory and for God's message to get out there. So do us a favor, share us, and, support us.
Check us out on Facebook so that you never miss a Young America podcast episode. But one thing we did leave out, last but not least, the thing that keeps us going all day long, Joe's Joe. Joe, how about you tell us about Joe's Joe, huh?
Well, Joe's Joe is obviously a coffee company that we have paired up with as far as affiliate link. So you can get yourself some coffee from Joe's Joe. And we get a little, bounce back from that if you guys go buy his coffee. So go buy some coffee and stay awake just like the rest of us.
Yep. Grinding hard, doing school, You get what you get.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Link in the description. Just click on Joe's Joe, and then the promo code is capital Y, capital A, capital P, 15 at checkout for 15% off your first 2 orders. So, I mean, you can get 2 pounds of coffee for 15% off. So, it's pretty good right there. And not just any coffee. There's Guatemalan coffee. I think there's Peruvian coffee. I don't know. All kinds of good stuff. So go check it out. You need to do it.
Yeah. And you would be supporting a little local business owner, I guess. And he's a Christian. So that's about it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you. Oh, wait. Don't go away. So we are also going to be doing another episode of the church. So that's coming out next month. But that's about it now. So thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting us. And we will see you next time.